Hi there, and welcome to our second session in the People Labs Element series. And today we're going to be talking about moving from transactional to transformational engagement. So this is a phrase that was first coined by David McLeod and Anita Clark in their first report to government, Engaging for Success report to government. And this is the first time that I heard about this distinction between transactional and transformational engagement. And it really resonated with me when I started reading about it. So this slide really kind of brings to life I guess, something that's familiar to many of us, and it's really transactional in approach. So this whole idea of doing an engagement survey, taking the bottom 3 things, the bottom 5 things in the survey and trying to fix them, putting them into an action plan, often in a spreadsheet, and very often the kind of data and insight gathered from the survey kind of goes into a black hole. And this is kind of what transactional engagement is often about, not always, but is often about. And we know from taking this approach that although small improvements can be made, often what happens is after a number of years, response rates to the survey tend to go down, there's lack of buy-in from employees, cynicism and low trust, and ultimately no real change is achieved. So thinking about what we mean by transactional and transformational engagement, as I said, transactional engagement is often in response to the survey. I think really key to this idea of transactional engagement is the fact that it's reactive. It looks back on what wasn't working 3-6 months ago and says, we've asked these questions, these things weren't working, how can we fix them? It's often an add-on, a separate activity. It's not integral to the business. It's not part of the culture. Somebody somewhere has responsibility for this and for fixing it. And ultimately, it's a set of transactions. It's a tick in the box. At the opposite end of the scale, we've got this idea of transformational engagement. And this is just a way of doing business. It's part of the culture. It's part of the way leaders lead, managers manage. And employees have some responsibility as well for improving their engagement, and they're integral to engagement as well. I think the critical difference really between the two ends of the spectrum is that transformational engagement is proactive. So it's about looking forwards and saying, if we want to achieve our business strategy or our vision, how can engagement help us, and how can an engaged workforce help us, and what do we need to do to get there, and therefore what questions might we need to ask. And another key difference is that insight is regularly sought, harnessed and acted upon. So there's a kind of a culture of continual listening. We don't wait once a year to find out how people feel about working here. And it's integrated into the way we do business. So very, very different place to transactional engagement. And in the first report to government that David McLeod and Anita Clark did, they talk about this idea of level 1, transactional engagement, level 2, transformational engagement. And I guess the way we see it at People Lab is not in 2 distinct levels, but actually a kind of a continuum. At the far left, we've got transactional. At the far right, we've got transformational. And most businesses are kind of somewhere in between and working towards transformational engagement. But what we do know from clients we work with is that transformational engagement absolutely brings about those wonderful changes we want to see when we talk about the business case for engagement. And if you're sat there thinking, I'm not sure where our organisation is, we've got a great download we'll make available after this session, quick diagnostic tool to ask you some questions to figure out where you're on that scale. So if you're more transactional or more transformational. And over the coming weeks, we'll be sharing more tips and ideas on how to move towards transformational engagement. So thank you for listening to us today, coming from sunny Brighton. Our next session is on Wednesday, 22nd of March at 2:30, and we'll be talking about a different approach to engagement, a new and different approach to engagement. So make sure you tune in then to hear more about that. Thanks for joining us. Bye.